What's going on, everybody? This is episode number 2 of the New York Sports Take. It's October 17th, 2025. I'm joined alongside Andrew Huber today, and we are going to be breaking down what went wrong in the New York Yankees season and how they find themselves now on the couch as we are in the midst of the American League Championship Series. And we'll also preview the Giants matchup with the Denver Broncos, talk about the state of the G-men, all the exciting things that are happening under this newfound quarterback running back duo in Scat and Dart. But we're going to lead things off talking about the Yanks. Andrew, 94-68, another really solid regular season, won 11 out of our last 12 games. Obviously, we know it was a little bit of a roller coaster ride altogether. I think 7 games up in the AL East, May 28th. Hit the skids, the June swoon. July was bad. I think we were 1 game under 500 in July. We acquire Bird, Bednar, Camilo Doval, try to fortify the pen at the deadline, get a little bit more athletic, a little bit more speed. Summer rolls around and finish really, really strong. Granted, beat up on some bad teams there at the end, Orioles and White Sox, but felt really, really good going into October. Felt like probably the favorite out of the American League again, but we could not solve the Toronto Blue Jays this year. That's what it came down to. They bludgeoned us in the regular season. They took 5 of 8. I think we were 1-9 at Rogers Center when it was all said and done. We had no answer for the Blue Jays. They were flat out the better team. It's unacceptable. This is now a 16-year championship drought for the Yankees. And it looks like we're going to be running back a pretty similar squad next season. Cashman's got some interesting decisions that he has to make. Tucker, do we pursue him? I personally think we should just re-sign Cody. But it's going to be a pretty similar team to next year, but there's still some questions going into the offseason. What would be like your just opening statement about the fact that here we are once again? It's kind of another year, same shit. Like what? Yeah. Right. Well, since George passed away, and I believe, I don't know, it's been, I think since 2008, since Hal took over as the full-time guy that's overseen everything. And he's seen 2 managers. And Brian Cashman, I think he's going to be returning now for his 28th year. 28 years, Andrew. As a general manager, I mean, the shelf life on a general manager, 10 years is a long run. 2 decades is a long run. This guy is going to make it to 30 years. He's going to get 3 decades of runway as the GM. I know me and you disagree on this overall, holistically. I do like Brian Cashman. I think that nobody really knows the game better than him. I think he has a really strong foundation and understands the balance between analytics and kind of letting Booney manage the game. I think they strike that balance. I think that fans just scream and holler analytics. That's not really true. He did address that yesterday in, I don't know if you saw this whole thing where Jeter and A-Rod took a shot. They took the shot at Cashman, saying that it's the men upstairs and the executives that pretty much call all the shots on the field and whatever, and that Boone is just a yes man and a robot, and he doesn't actually make any real-time decisions. That's basically like what A-Rod and Jeter, 2 Yankee greats, had said that, and Brian Cashman, actually, had a spot on WFAN yesterday with Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber, and he sort of responded. He's like, I heard Jeter say, he front up acknowledged, I heard DJ, as he referred to him, say that. By the way, that feels wrong to call Derek Jeter DJ, but that's what he did. He's like, I called up DJ afterwards, and I was like, dude, do you actually believe that's true, or are you just saying that so you could get some clicks on Fox? And Jeter actually thought that, and Cashman acknowledged it, and he flat out said, and I believe him. I mean, you could think he's lying, but I believe Cashman when he says that, listen, analytics are part of the game. All 30 teams are using them. They're prevalent. It's baseball. They're not going away. That's not happening. I mean, we're not going to bring in Tony La Russa and have him, have his big gut come out there with a cigarette and make it. That's not going to happen. Analytics are part of the game, and I don't think that there's some button that Boone presses or whatever. He gets a ton of information before every game, and he meets with all these other coaches, and they're like, this is how we want to play it out. This lane, there 5, 6, 7. If we could get our starter through X amount of innings and then get to this. That's all part of it. But once the game unfolds, it's almost like football, how they sequence that first drive. Once the game unfolds, then they sort of put the pieces together from there. It's not exactly concisely all planned out. They try and do that, but then Boone, like we saw with Schlittler the other day, he threw 8 innings, obviously not the other day, in game 3 of the deciding wild card game. Like that wasn't on script for Schlitt to go 8. But he did. But in game 1, they took out Fried. That was probably on script. Would you have kept Fried in game 1? That was the one where fans were really frustrated that that they went to the bullpen that early. No. Game 1 of the Red Sox series. Yeah. I think he went 6 1/3 there, and yeah, right, yeah. But just from like a philosophical standpoint, I don't really have the problem with, I'm a Cashman guy. It is, like I said, it is just absolutely insane how long that he's been around. But this is where we're at. We're going to be rolling out. We're going to get into the free agents and who you want to bring back and whatever. But yeah, this will be now season number 9 for Boone. I can't believe how long it's been. He's been to the playoffs. He's completed now 8 seasons, 7 playoff appearances. We've seen success, obviously, now 27 years running where the Yankees have fielded really competitive teams and been over 500. That one is I take pride in being a Yankees fan because all of our other teams, the Knicks were one of the worst franchises ever. They finally turned it around. The Giants are obviously on the up and up swing right now. Jets are the biggest joke known to man. Like New York, there's a lot of fluctuation, but year in and year out, you can consistently 94 wins. You can't take that away. We lost Soto. Plan B did kind of work. Like these are all the positives on the season. Cashman made the pivot to Plan B. Pretty much all of the imports that he made had positive impacts. Cody Bellinger had a fantastic season. The batting average, the ball player, the defense, the 5 tools, everything. Grisham was great. 34 home runs. What do I have right here? I think he was awful in the postseason. I think he was like 5 for 29. Yeah, I don't know if we give him the qualifying offer or not. But for the most part, it had worked out. But we were outplayed every facet of the game in that Blue Jays series. Hitting, and tip your cap to the Blue Jays. They scored 34 runs over the course of that series. They have a really deep lineup with a lot of really good hitters. But that's the way it goes. Now to focus on that Blue Jays series a little bit. Do you think going into next year that you want to sort of change the lineup complexion a little bit because listen, home runs win games, obviously, right? We hit the most home runs in baseball, 274. I think it was 30 clear of the Dodgers. 30 more home runs than the next leading team. Home runs win games. They were absent in the postseason. I think we had 5 or 6 homers the whole postseason. It wasn't good enough. We weren't, and when we don't have the long ball, this has been a persistent issue throughout. And this is an indictment on the Cashman and Boone era, is that when the home runs aren't flowing, we're not winning enough games. And I kind of push back on that a little bit because there are some numbers that show that the Yankees actually win at a rate higher than other teams when they don't hit a home run, but not in October. If it's not there. I think we left 8 guys on base in the last 5 innings of game 4. Stanton did it. Yeah, it's really hard come October especially. It's one thing. It's easy to do when you're facing bad pitching in the regular season, and you got the Orioles and White Sox 4 and 5 starters on the mound. Yeah, it's easy to hit home runs, especially at Yankee Stadium. But when you're facing quality pitching, and another part, yes, the Blue Jays. Vlad Guerrero, he came in with abysmal postseason numbers. He turned it on. He hit over 500 in that series. Obviously, the grand slam, everything, 2-run shot as well in Game 3, the game in which we took. They went up, 6-1, obviously, then we come back. So tip your cap to Vladdy, combination between our pitchers not getting it done and him, much like Judge, changing that postseason narrative. Not that he played a lot of postseason games, but before that he was hitting, I think he had 1 hit in the postseason. Springer was actually the only guy that didn't do anything. The lineup balance from them was insane. You had Andres Jimenez, Ernie Clement, the kid that grew up in Rochester, diehard Yankee fan, dinking and dunking the ball everywhere. Yeah, every time he came up, I'm like, again, he was the ball found grass every time. And that's what you need, the bottom of the order to be able to do that. The Yankees' bottom of the order struggled. Actually, McMahon, who really couldn't hit at the end of the regular season, was like the one guy that showed up. He hit the solo shot, obviously in the deciding game four. But other than that, Jazz had a horrible postseason. Grisham finished four for, and listen, pretty much, we'll get into Volpe too. We're going to talk about Volpe. Don't worry about it. We have to address number 11 over there at shortstop. Me and you hate him. We were exchanging explicitives over text a couple days ago about just how fondly we are of Chicken Parm Boy over there. But one of the highlighting disappointments in the lineup has to be Trent, because he's elite. And don't get me wrong, I would like to bring him back. I'm not crazy about it. The qualifying offer right now sits at 25, I think 22 million, which is kind of a lot. I think that he's somewhere in between the fourth outfielder that hit a career 180, not really much of a bat, really good gold glove defense, top tier. I think he's somewhere between that and the guy that hit 34 home runs this year. I don't think that he can repeat what he did this previous season next year, but I also think he's better than like a 180, a buck 80 journeyman loser. Somewhere in the middle, that's a lot. $22 million is a lot for somewhere in the middle like that. That's like Bellinger money. That's how much we paid Bellinger. This year, I think he was 25 mil. Anyway, but yeah, we need a bona fide leadoff hitter going into next year. Even if Trent comes back, you cannot have the guy that hits in front of Aaron Judge finishing 4 for 29. Some of those swing. Exactly. Yeah. Perfect example of that is the way that our entire lineup, 1 through 9, it was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. Game 2, you talk about the good pitching. Game 2, this Yesevich kid making whatever it was, his 4th major league start. He made us look like we were swinging 13 Ks. It was I mean, I think he got pulled after 5 1/3. But if they let him go, it would have been better than Schlittler's performance against the Red Sox. His splitter was dicing everybody up. I saw some of the most weak, flailing, awful swings. When they face top tier arms like that, Andrew, they can't get it done. 4 for 25, 225 on base percentage for Grisham. And as historic of a postseason as Judge had, he only walked away with 7 RBIs. If Grisham was getting on base, if Grisham was doing his job and hitting singles and getting on base and showing a little bit more plate discipline, could have had a lot more. Judge had a lot of big moments. He had the defining signature moment in Game 3, but there could have been a lot more moments. And a lot of meat was left on the bone because the guy in front of him got on base at a 225 clip. Like, that can't happen. That is getting on base like below 20% of the time. Not a math guy, but that's awful. It was a big reason why we won 94 games. I mean, 34 home runs is a lot. And yeah, he did. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And a big reason why we finished with 94 wins, and obviously did not end up getting the tiebreaker. Same amount of wins as the Blue Jays in the regular season, but they had the tiebreaker on us. As we all know, they owned us all year, so a deserved tiebreaker in that case. But Ben Rice, another guy who has a phenomenal breakout season, was probably, in my opinion, Andrew, probably our best all-around hitter outside of Aaron Judge. Probably, right? I mean, they got the ball, and he hit it to horrible luck all year. I think his expected batting average was around 290. He hit whatever it was. But he had a really, really good year. Ranks near, like, the top 5%. Yeah, exactly. All those different things. He's got an electric bat. I think he put on 7 or 8 pounds of muscle in the offseason, and it really showed. He's a Dartmouth kid. He's smart. He has an approach. He can play multiple positions. Can't really play first base. Oh my gosh, that guy better be taking grounders all winter. And I'm fine with that. Like, I think a lot of people, and this goes back to the bigger question about, and your critique, that the 4 catchers on the roster and whatever, like having Ben Rice at first. I am fine if Ben Rice puts in a ton of work this offseason and can get himself to the point where he can be a capable first baseman. That's perfectly fine by me. And if they want to roll him out, if it works, great. If not, come up with a new plan, I guess. Have them split time at DH and catcher and do what you got to do, shuffle things around. But you can't be going into playoff games in 2025 with him as your friend. Like, he shouldn't have been out there at first base this year. There was so many, he was missing picks. His technique's off. He just doesn't really know what he's doing over there. When you reflect on the series, it came down, the worst things, the bullpen was excellent in that Game 3, the first game back at Yankee Stadium. I think they went 6 2/3. That was the only time in which Toronto's offense was silenced over the course of that entire series. The only time was in Game 3 when we got to the pen, because Rodon didn't have it that day. He got shelled early. We fall down 6-1. Judge gets us back into it, ties it with the 3-run shot to make it 6-6. And we neutralized their bats entirely with the bullpen. Doval did great. Bednar was awesome. Thank gosh we didn't see Weaver in that. He probably would have blown it up for us, with the pitch tipping and everything. Bullpen, I'm going to leave them out of this right now. It was a concern. They were iffy. They weren't good in games 1 and 2. Really, the reason we lost that series is they had the better starting pitching, and they hit better than us entirely. Up and down the lineup, their stars were their stars, and everything kind of fell into place well. And now they just tied the series. Now they are hitting again. They fell behind in an ugly 0-2 hole to Seattle, and now they just grabbed the 2 games over in Seattle. Now back to Rogers Center. Should be an interesting series at 2-2. But now we've had, 7-8 days to reflect on this series. It's wrapped up. What do you think was the bigger issue, the starting pitching or the hitting? As much as the hitting was not clutch and guys weren't doing what Toronto was doing, putting the ball in play, hitting with runners in scoring position, finding holes, striking out at an extremely high clip, I think it was the starting pitching. This was a team that had this was a staff that had the 4th best regular season ERA in baseball, and they pitched to an 8.7 ERA over the course of that series. Completely unacceptable. Max Fried and Carlos Rodon, you think they're a great 1-2 punch. They both didn't have it. The only guy that showed up was a 24-year-old, the Schlitt. That can't happen. And I know that the rotation looks great going into next year on paper, but that was awful for Max Fried and Los. What do you think was about? I mean, as much as I want to take my aggravation out on the hitting and the blunder from Jazz, the starting pitching, I think it will go under the radar. It was horrific. Right. Yeah, and not a strong bullpen, probably the weakest part of the team, especially when you dig in early. Then Will Warren had to come in, and he served up the grand slam to Vladdy. Yeah, it wasn't fun, man. It was a blood. It really felt like game 3. I'm sure that I wish I was watching with you, man. Obviously, you're in New York. I'm in college in Ohio, but we share a bond over the Yankees and everything, and that was a magical moment. It was a magical night. I'm so happy about it. Yeah, absolutely. It is baseball's a tough game, and that's why you have to appreciate what Aaron Judge did in that moment we've ever seen. Yeah, no, there was so much noise, so much outside noise, and I'm not pinning. When we reflect on the series, Aaron Judge will be the last problem ever. I know that he couldn't come through in Game 1 with the bases loaded, but he is human, okay? He swung at a bad pitch. He's a person, believe it or not. It's baseball. The greatest of greats get out more than they get a hit. So anybody who's going to cover that, you're completely right in the sense that the narratives going into this postseason were it's all eyes were on 99. If he can do his job, if he can perform like he does in the regular season and meet the moment, and Joe Davis had an awesome call on that home run. He beats the mud. It was sick. It was sick. 1.2 inches from the center of home plate. Gets the hands in, and, we played baseball. You know how impossible that is to do. It was actually the fastest pitch that Judge has ever hit out for a homer. And it was way inside, too. It was, incredible. And he delivers in that moment. And for the rest of the series, we got outscored 34-19. That felt like an isolated event in what was just a smackdown from Toronto. But that one isolated event, that Game 3, was such an encapsulating and magical and awesome moment. And something that I think, me and you, Yankee fans, we're going to be at the game when we're 50 and 60 and still talk about that home run and how cool that was. Even though it was just the DS, even though, like I said, when you think about the series, it was a complete smackdown. That was such a great moment. One I'm glad that we talked about even to address on the pod. And yeah, I mean, what else more is there to say other than that? As far as going into this offseason now, there are, like I said, I opened up with this. The team's going to look really similar, but there are tweaks that can be made. A couple things that have to happen. Bullpen has to get fortified. Got to make a decision on Bellinger. Do we bring in another starting pitcher? We have a huge prospect pools of really, really good arms in in our farm right now. So do we turn that into a high leverage ace, like a Joe Ryan kind of guy? And I'm going to pull out my phone right now. I actually have the list of all the free agents, and we're just going to go rapid fire, like if you would bring them back or not. So the qualifying offer for Trent right now is going to be 25 million. It's between like 22 and a half or 25 million. If he accepts the offer, then it's the 1 year, then he's probably gone after that year. But if he declines the offer, the Yankees actually get a compensatory, I can't say the word, but they get a draft pick out of it, like a compensatory second round pick. Obviously, I feel like I know where you lean here. You would say no, right? I'm excited for Spencer. A huge year. Yeah. I also have to shout out to Jason because he didn't, I mean, yeah, Austin Wells and Anthony Volpe had big regressions. Young players major. Like, this was a sophomore season, and this was supposed to be the year where Dominguez was being rolled out into the lineup every day. It kind of felt that way in the first few months. He was middling, 270-ish, like middle of the pack, probably a little bit above average. The defense was the big problem. But, Aaron Boone, as far as lineup decisions go, I don't really get on him that much. But it is infuriating. And this is where I think he's probably getting a little bit too analytical. When Jason Dominguez goes 3 for 3 against the Mets, has 3 hits, I think all extra base hits, and then he's on the bench the next day. Yeah. Yeah. And then he's on the bench the following day. It's like that. Have a little feel for the game there. I mean, ridiculous. But yeah, I think Jason should play every day next year. He also carried himself, and I read articles on this and whatever. When he did get benched, he showed up with the same approach every single day. He came up, hey man, 9th inning, the game that we got eliminated, he rips one off the wall for a double, tries to get a rally going. Showed up for a young kid like that to be able to handle getting benched so well. Really impressive shit from him. And I'm looking forward to hopefully him playing on a consistent everyday basis next year. I would not make, I love Trent Grisham. Even when we traded for him in the Soto deal, I'm like, this is my guy right here. He's got the stash, and I like his swagger. I love the no batting gloves. Everybody in the locker room loves him and everything. He's like a very chill dude. He just has that natural kind of aura about him. Like, I love Trent. It was a fun year, 34 bombs. But the price tag's a little high on him. And you know what? Good for him. Going into his walk year, the Mets or some team's going to give him a nice payday. I just don't think it'll be us. Moving on, Goldie. This is tough. I kind of lean the same way that I lean with Trent. Like, good year. Started off scorching. Like, started off, looked like he was going to hit 350 the whole season. Then he really cooled down, had a decent July. Didn't make a ton of starts. Didn't really do much in the postseason. He got the start in Game 4. He was hitless. Kind of a non-factor in the postseason. Excellent defense over there, but, we have a lot of position players who deserve to be in the lineup every day next year. If you bring back a veteran like this, he's going to want to play every day. Then we have the whole Rice debacle once again. So I would let him walk. I think that we should prioritize that. Yeah. Me too. He had a very nice season. Yeah. No, I agree. I think what you said sums it up best. Like, he's just taking at bats away from Rice. And Rice is a guy, as you said, those reverse splits are incredible. I think he hit over 350. I'm thinking of Bellinger. He was a low batting average, but actually his slugging percentage, courtesy of Michael Catus, he still slugs. Yeah, I'll be fascinated to see how it plays out in terms of, like, is it just the way that the location in which Ben Rice hits the baseball is why he hit into bad luck this year, or he just was like one of the most unlucky guys ever? I'll be very fascinated to see how that plays out going into next year, if his expected numbers actually are a little bit more on par with his real numbers. All right, we do have to keep moving here because you are limited on time, and I want to talk a little bit about the Giants and their game against the Broncos on Sunday. Devin Williams. Now, yeah, I mean, the highs and lows with him were insane this year. There were points where he was He was unpitchable. Like, if he was in the game, Yankee Stadium would be ready to bomb him. Like, I don't know, that sounded stupid, but there were points over the course of the season where Devo was just unpitchable. Obviously, he blew the save to the Astros. I felt like that was rock bottom for Devo. But he really came into his own. The stuff was excellent. I think he allowed no runs his last 12 regular season appearances. He did get tagged, the Nathan Luke, but that wasn't his fault. He got the strikeout of Springer, and then Luke's hit the 2-run single that kind of sealed the deal. That sealed the deal. That made it a 2-1 to a 4-1 game, but that whole inning to me was on Jazz and the error. We didn't even really talk about that, but everybody knows what happened there. Unacceptable. We actually played pretty heady defense the whole series, but the one play, and it cost us big time. To me, the game was over after that. I didn't think the Yankees were coming back. But no, it wasn't Devo's fault there. He was good in the postseason. The game before that, he was great. And his stuff was great, like the last 3 months of the season. He does have the nastiest pitch. Fernando Cruz or him probably have the nastiest pitch of any player in baseball. The changeup was working for him. His fastball velo started to tick up at the end of the year, too. He was starting to pump 90. We hadn't seen him pretty much all year. So I think Devo's going to be fine. Even we found our closer in Bednar. Great move by Cashman. I think he'll be a really good setup man. Team-friendly deal, hopefully. Hopefully he doesn't want too much. I know he really likes being a Yankee in New York City, and he could have a stupid beard. I'd bring back Devin Williams. Tim Hill, lefty specialist, should have been in Game 1 of the World Series instead of Nestor. Yeah, I'd bring him back. I'd give him $5 or $6 million for the year. I'd bring him back. I don't know why we don't pitch him more often. I don't know. We pitched him a lot last year, but Boone was very finicky with his usage of Tim Hill. He should have probably got more innings. Yeah. The underlying metrics aren't so friendly to him, but he gets outs. He induces ground balls, he gets outs, and the numbers are pretty good. Would you bring back Luke Weaver? Really? You think it's going to be like a Clay Holmes kind of flip with the Mets? Well, he's not starting for us. Yeah. I mean, people have short memories in New York, and, it's an instant coffee, and we're always focused on the here and the now. But just put yourself in a mindset of a year from now. This guy, outside of Stanton, who was probably the postseason MVP. He just did damage. He won the CS play. But to me, the biggest standout of that October was Luke Weaver. He allowed the big Christmas home run. But other than that, like the emergence of him pretty much falling out of the league as a starter, a failed starter, didn't work. The Yankees pitching staff is able to make him this high-octane reliever. He was so dominant for us. He was that bulldog. He had that fight in him. He had that dog in him. Everybody loved Luke Weaver. And then for it to become as much of a disaster as it was because of the tipping of the pitches, I don't even think there was really that much diminishment in his stuff. I mean, yeah, maybe MLB lineups were able to figure him out and do a little bit more film on him and hit him better, but the stuff was still pumping 100 once he was healthy and everything. It's just sad. I really would want to try and bring him back. The price tag is probably going to be, I don't even know. It's so hard to tell. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would say I'd like to see him come back. I'm still in love with what we saw a year ago. And then Jonathan Loáisiga experiment has just failed, man. We did like how we just talked about Weaver. He has it in him, he has the stuff. That's been the mentality for Loáisiga for years upon years upon years. Oh, he has to, if we could just get him healthy and on the mound, he's incapable of being availability is the best ability. He gets an F on that every single year. And when he did pitch this year, he sucked. So I'm done with Loáisiga. And, I think we ran through the whole gamut there. Bellinger, I will, we're going to be recording multiple times a week and whatever. So as we talk, as the hot stove heats up and MLB free agency sort of gets into motion in the winter meetings, we can have that Tucker versus Bellinger debate and which direction. Yeah, but Kyle Tucker is a superstar. And what did the Yankees need more than anything this postseason? Well, pitching, Andrew, but other than that, they needed another Aaron Judge to elevate them offensively, and Kyle Tucker is capable of doing that damage. He wasn't excellent in the Cubs run, but I want Kyle Tucker, man. I don't know about you, but I love Bellinger. But if we're willing to make that splurge, I would do it. We should definitely be competitors in that. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more down the road. Let's transition to the Giants at this point in time. You're the Giants fan, obviously. I'm the Jets fan. We're not going to talk any Jets. I did that with Tom earlier in the week. No, I'm okay, man. We're going to lose to the Panthers. So, last week was probably the biggest Giants home win in over a decade. It was unbelievable. They came off the Chargers game, which was high and mighty. Nobody expected them to win that game. Jackson Dart looked great. Scatterboo looked even better. The defense had stepped up in that game. Then a little bit of a letdown in New Orleans, obviously, with the 5 consecutive turnovers. But what everybody didn't take out of that game is, you can't take away 5 turnovers. But outside of that, they were polished, they were clean, and they looked really good. And then last week, it was all on display. No neighbors, no problem. Jackson Dart was so poised, changing plays at the line of scrimmage. He was doing everything. Scat, 2 touchdowns, I think, 98 yards. He was awesome. 3 touchdowns for Scat. Like, you were at work that night, obviously, but the energy around the Giants is unprecedented and something that in our lifetime, I don't think we've seen. When Daniel Jones came in, and obviously he won his first game against the Buccaneers, and we'll remember that and laugh about it, whatever. And there was excitement among Giant fans. I mean, here's your first-round pick, your hopeful franchise quarterback who comes out and he looks really good. But it's nothing like this. I've never seen anything like this around the Giants. I truly believe that Jackson Dart is going to be the franchise quarterback over there. He looks like an absolute stud. There's so much, the athleticism. And my main concern going into this Dart era, and I did kind of like a lot of the, my battery's low here. I did like a lot of the different things that he was able to do at Ole Miss, and he obviously has a really solid arm, but I was worried about the speed of the game for him. The speed of the game doesn't look like a problem. He is so poised. He's so under control. He's very comfortable evading the pocket, staying in the pocket, stepping up when he needs to, delivering the ball on time, something Justin Fields has no idea about. It's really, really impressive. For a 22-year-old kid, he really looks like a seasoned veteran out there. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because these are problems that he might have some problems against the Denver Broncos, who sacked Justin Fields 9 times last week and are on pace to have the most sacks in a single season in the history of football and outdo the 86 Chicago Bears. Like Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper. It's a tall task this week against Denver. What are your expectations? Like 6.5-point dogs? Do you give yourself a realistic chance to win? Yeah, they played the best game they played all year. If I'm a Giants fan going into this game, like winning would be, if you guys win, I think the sky is the limit. If they win this football game and they beat a team that, did I lose here? Are you still there? Yeah. If they go out and they beat a Broncos team who a lot of people thought were the best team in the AFC West going into the season, and their defense led by Vance Joseph. It's the best defense in the league. Bo Nix is definitely in the midst of a sophomore slump right now. I don't know what's going on with him. He looked really bad. He had one nice drive. It was mainly blown coverages by the Jets secondary. Surprise, surprise. Against the Jets there. He just was not good. And Sean Payton was not really showing a lot of confidence in running the ball in 3rd and 10 and whatever. But overall, it's just a tough spot because their offense underperformed last week. You think that Sean Payton and Bo Nix are going to come out with a little bit of a better performance against the Giants, even though the Giants have a well-respected defense themselves. I would think at home after a letdown spot, their offense is going to look better. Their defense is a well-oiled machine. They're at home. They're coming off a piss-poor game, honestly, against the Jets. They were just playing the Jets, so they won. But I think that if the Giants keep this close, that's a win in my book if I'm a Giants fan. I just want to see them compete. The last thing you want, and you got a tough 2-week stretch here. You got Denver and Philly on the road. If you get outscored 80-10 and you just get ran out of both buildings, then all this hype and all this, that throw to little Jordan Humphrey against the Eagles, I actually watched like a little film review on it. It was incredible because, yeah, he made it work. And what was more impressive than the throw and catch, which was beautiful, was Dart's usage of the mental side on that play. Read the corner blitz, changed the play at the line of scrimmage, made sure John Michael Schmitz and that whole offensive line pulled right, and then he gets out of the pocket and delivers just a really nice pass, gives Jordan Humphrey a chance. He's a tall feller, so he comes down with that ball. But just to be a rookie and to be in your 3rd game in the NFL and changing up the play on reading a corner blitz and being able to do all those different things was really cool to watch. And yeah, we'll wrap up with this. You're 2-4. Playoffs, you have a 3% chance to make the playoffs by a lot of metrics. I don't really think that you'd be making a trade for a receiver with the intention of like, oh yeah, playoff run. But if you want to see Dart, and I know it looked great last week, and just everything sort of fell into place. But if they're going to compete and the offense is going to still look like a quality offense, with Neighbors out, you pretty much you're dealing with Wandell as your WR1. I do think that they should make a trade. I'm hearing Waddle, I'm hearing Olave. I kind of think that's unrealistic. But just go and get something, maybe a Calvin Ridley. I know Jerry Jeudy plays a little bit too similar to Neighbors, and if they were to play next year, that might not work. But I think that they should do it. I don't think they will, because in 2022 at the trade deadline, when you guys were 6-2, you actually traded a receiver instead of acquiring one. You traded Kadarius Toney for, take that with what you will, for a 6th-round pick. Doesn't really seem like Joe Shane's kind of thing, but again, anything. Yeah, it does. Yeah, the difference is now is that that was year one. They were having success. Everything looked great, and they're on the road to the playoffs. Like you said, the reason why I think that Shane might get out of his comfort zone and pull the trigger and make a trade for a receiver is they need to pull out everything they can to keep their jobs. So if they really want to impress John Mara down the stretch, what gives them the best chance of doing that is picking up some wins and showing that the offense that we've seen the last 3 weeks can continue. What improves their chances of that is getting a respected receiver in that room. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Definitely, listen, you have to be happy right now. The state of the Giants, it's all smiles around Big Blue right now. I don't think we'll be seeing any Jets saying sell the team anytime soon, hopefully. It's all smiles. It's good. And honestly, Andrew, like the Jets are 0-6. I'm going to watch the game this Sunday because I'm a diehard fan. But I'm more excited for the Giants game. There's actually something to be interested in. I mean, it's Halloween. Usually this time of year rolls around, we're already looking at the draft board. But you actually can have your eyes on a football game that means something. And we're also eager to see how they follow up that play hard and compete. Yeah, I'm very excited for that game. Should be a good one. Thanks so much for coming on. We're going to have you on hopefully pretty soon again. Go a little bit more in depth with the Yankees in the offseason. And maybe talk some Knicks or Isles, or we'll see where the wind takes us. Thanks for coming on, bro. Everybody, if you're still with us at this point, thank you for listening. And if you're still listening, that hopefully means we did a pretty good job. And we will see you next time. Have a wonderful weekend.